Hello and welcome to the very last Nexus report ever for the month of July. See what I did there?
Is that part of the banter? Because on here, let's see, it says, just read it already, you jerk.
Yeah, well, because I know you're gonna, so I don't even know why. I just put it in there now because I think I just like to just think of something new for you to read. I'm gonna read something like, I'm a big idiot. So you say it on live air, kind of like I just did, damn it. Anyway, we have got a big show for you guys today. We have got the lead class designer, Hugh Shelton, is here, and he's gonna be answering all of your questions, all of them. Well, in an hour. We're gonna try and do as many as we can in an hour. So right off the bat, if you have questions, start putting them in Twitch chat, start putting them on Twitter, at WildStar, hashtag Nexus Report, and I'm gonna be refreshing that feed. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/WildStarOnline. Go there, our last post in the comment section, leave your questions there as well. We've got a trio of areas where you can get questions answered. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing the coverage on the social
Throwing
medias.
a wide net of questions, if you will. Anyway, please start submitting your questions now. We're going to do some quick updates, and then we're going to get right to the business. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get right to the business.
Straight in.
We were at Comic-Con last week. You did a couple panels. How did those go?
So I did one panel. I was on What Can Video Games Teach Us with Janice Davis, who was kind enough to invite me out, and it was pretty cool. You know, talked about what games can kind of teach us and what WildStar. It was funny. Someone was like, "Did you have anything of social importance or anything that you guys were trying to get across in WildStar that was sort of revolutionary or changing in any sort of paradigms?" I was like, "We yell at you when you level up."
Yeah, we do.
We're like, "You smell great. Well done." Oh
shit.
We don't really. We're not trying to change that, but we are trying to teach people how to have fun, play an MMO that is not so crazy serious all the time.
And we had a small community event that was a lot of fun. If you were in the Comic-Con area and you came by, thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun meeting all the fans, handing out swag. I felt like Oprah, just throwing it. You get a shirt. You get a shirt. You get a shirt. And you. Oh my God!
Whoa! What just happened?
Oh no!
Oh my God!
This
guys.
Oh. Guys. I'm so afraid. Just hold me.
No, I'm not
just
gonna
hold
hold
me.
you.
I'm afraid. I'm terrified.
Look, don't.
Okay. This is awkward.
You can let go of me now.
Okay.
That was a little.
Sorry. I
weird.
Got a little upset there. So we just had some technical issues apparently, but I think everything's okay because the lights are on. And that's how you know everything's okay, because the lights are on. Hey, real quick, you saw a cosplayer at Comic-Con.
I did. This was awesome. Yeah. So Shannon was kind enough to come and visit the panel that I was on, and I got to talk to a few fans actually that came by. So thank you for coming to check that out. And she dressed up like Kit Burney, which is freaking awesome. Anytime you have a cosplaying picture and you go to an event, please send it to us. We will totally show it off here on the live stream and other such places. But this is pretty awesome. Tyler, if you could be a deer, there it is. Someone just hanging out. Kit Burney. Pretty cool.
What is that face you're making right there?
Isn't this cool? It's Kit Burney face. Look at it.
No, it's a great cosplay. It is definitely a great cosplay. Horrible face. Great cosplay. We are looking to do the sabotage patch this week. This week still, we said the end of July. It's still July technically, so it's we got a couple days.
Yeah, we're good.
A couple days. So look for that coming out this week. We're still not given an exact time, but it will be this week. WildStar Fighting Championship, the WFC. We brought this up a couple weeks ago, and they're in it to win it. They're doing events now bi-monthly, and it's going to be great. The first Exile Arena is on Bloodsworn. It's called the Rumble in the Grove. Rumble in the Grove. It's the first time they've had an event for Exiles, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, brother! We're gonna have some real wrestling in WildStar finally!
Oh, God. I don't think copyright. I think
That's not copyright.
I think
dude.
his voice
That's
is copyrighted.
Generic ass wrestler voice.
Generic ass. This is so Rumble in the Grove was made by Undie Control. Sorry, I couldn't say that.
It was,
without
you
laughing.
typed this. How
I
are you
know,
not
I
like?
know, but it's funny to say it. It's one thing to type it, but to say Undie Control out loud is a whole other thing. Oh, it's weird. When
I've
you
got
whisper.
good under control, brother.
We're moving on. August 1st is the next match at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you have any questions at all about this, go to WildstarFightingChampionship.com. They've got all your information there because it's super cool. The EU community team is here. Yay! Jan and Ackley and Mark and Mel, they're sitting right there looking at me from behind the camera. You guys want to walk by and wave to the cameras? Come on in. They're going to be here all week long. We're going to be meeting and talking about all kinds of ideas. You're going to have to get low. Oh, see? Hey, there they are.
Here, hold on, I'll get down.
Oh,
See, these are the guys.
Oh, these are the guys.
Yeah, so.
Nothing but professionalism around here. Yeah, there we go.
It's just.
Oh, I like that.
It's good.
I like that. That's good. So when we come back, we're going to be talking with lead class designer Hugh Shelton, and it's going to be a good time. So make sure to get your questions into the Twitch chat right now on Twitter at Wildstar on Twitter #Nexus Report. Get your questions in. When we come back, we're not leaving until we answer a whole ton of them. Under control.
T for teen. Damn right. Welcome to WildStar. This is DevSpeak. This disclaimer will self-destruct. Now. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Guess what? Guess what? It's time for player versus player! I'm so excited. We're dropping a bomb on your face. That bomb is Sabotage, aka Drop 2, aka Daggerstone Pass, a 15 versus 15 battleground with mounts. Boom. Here's the sitch. You have a base. Your enemy has a base. Protect your fusion core, destroy their fusion core. Win! Capture and hold uplinks throughout the map to call in periodic airstrikes on the enemy's core. Sounds simple, right? But you forgot my favorite part, bombs! Now what they tell me you're supposed to do is grab a bomb, take it to the enemy base, and use it on their fusion core. But what do I like to do? Well, Sabotage. Enemies protecting their uplink? I'm gonna stroll up in here and drop a little ticking time bomb. Sabotage. Oops, I just killed you. Why don't I take that bomb off your hands and drop it on your base? Sabotage. Oh, did you guys want this extra bomb? Only 2 seconds left, but it's a sabotage. Hey, friendly teammates, we should stick together. Oh no, sabotage. Oh, wait a second. Whoa, get away, get away! Sabotage. Let us know what you think. The devs are listening.
And we are back. My hat is on straight again. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciated that. We have lead class designer Hugh Shelton. Hugh, thank you for stopping by.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's good to be here. Hopefully answer a bunch of questions for people.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We're going to get right into it. There's no need to mess around. We're going to just jump right into some questions. So this is from Party on Garth. Love the name. Why won't you balance PvP and PvE separately?
So this is something that I've seen players talk about a lot. And I've seen developers even talk about it somewhat. And it's really something that's just, would be really hard to manage basically two different databases of abilities that are both for PvE and for PvP. You would basically have to have twice as many designers working on something like this, and then players would have to learn basically two different games almost, because all of their abilities behave a little bit differently than PvE than PvP. That's something that's really nice about an MMO like WildStar, is that you have the same character that you go into PvP and you go into PvE, and you don't have to worry about your abilities working differently because of those two different situations.
And certainly there are going to be people that will say, well, you should separate those, and it's just a different thought process and different sort of ideology, and it's not one that we follow. So basically we're keeping it as one, and we're balancing it for all the different game types we got. Same with dungeons, and same with everything else. So this one's from Faron. Is there any intention of making player rotations slightly more complex, more than just spamming things as they come off CD or cooldown, as is the case with most of the classes?
So we're going to always be looking at making our ability rotations more interesting, things that you do based on certain circumstances. And you can already see that on some of our classes. Like the engineer has some really fun rotations that they pull off, where the engineers that are at the really top of their game, they're most definitely not just pushing abilities once they come off cooldown. They're managing where they're at in their volatility with what abilities they're using so that they maintain that range. And we have elements in that in pretty much all of the classes. It's just not it's not always going to be, it's not quite where we want it to be for every class, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to keep working on it and making it.
Some of it is time-based, and some of it is, critical hit-based. And,
Yeah.
It's not just cooldown management.
Yeah, it's definitely not just cooldown management. We have certain things that are based on being based off your resources or based off if you do land a proc event sort of thing,
Right.
like you were talking about.
I have a question from Twitter @Wildstar #Nexus report. What are you gonna do with Spellslinger burst issues like Charge Shot and Assassinate?
So the Spellslinger is really good at burst, and we want them to be good at burst. But it's true that they might be a little bit over the top with that specific combination, and it has a lot to do with the tier 8 of Charge Shot. It's pretty strong. So if you're Spellslinger out there and you want to get some burst out, you try that out. So we will be looking at toning that down. It's just not something that we want to. We don't want to just scale it back without giving them something else in return, and we don't want to take away their bursty gameplay. So it's something that we're currently working on, and it would be for a future patch.
Cool. This is from Tempo Tantrum. Is medic healer actuator gain being looked at?
So we think that the medic actuator gain is pretty cool on the DPS side. There are definitely some things. We don't necessarily love all the RNG that's associated with the medic actuator gain, and we do see that the healer side does need a little bit more access to building generators or building actuators, so that they're not having to spam a mission all the time.
Right.
So we are looking at amps and different ability tiers to make that rotation a little bit more interesting for healers.
Cool.
This is from Bad Wolf on Twitter. @Wildstar #Nexus report. What do the devs look at when balancing classes? Do you ever feel like you're screwing with one class to balance?
So we're looking at a lot of different things, and it's really going to depend on what problem we're looking at. So for example, Spellslingers, they have been, since launch, they've been really strong in Battlegrounds, right? And that's something that I've seen from players, it's something that I've seen in metrics, it's something that I've seen firsthand. I have over 10 days played, I think, on my character now, so I've definitely been playing a lot. And even though that they're doing really strong in Battlegrounds, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing really good in PvE. And it kind of comes back to the whole, why don't you balance these two things separately? But it really just makes the solution a little bit more complex than it could be otherwise. And so we're looking at toning back the Spellslinger's cone size range, and you'll see that in this patch coming up. And this is something that's going to affect them a lot more in large-scale PvP than it's going to affect them in PvE. So we've come up with creative ways, or we're trying to come up with creative ways of addressing balance in different areas without impacting it where they're already not that strong. That sort of a thing.
And when you said this patch coming up, you're talking about this week's patch, right? Not a future patch.
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Cool. So this is from Screamin' About Not. Can we please get a timeline on when the Warrior Tank class changes will come into effect?
So that is not going to be hitting in the Sabotage patch, but that will be, we are pushing to get that in as soon as possible within reason, which means it probably won't come out during patch 2, but there is a chance in patch 3 that it will come out, and definitely by patch 4.
There you go. Usually, and so, just so everybody understands the development process on this stuff, these guys make changes and they test out balance and they do stuff internally within their own stuff. But then on top of that, we have to have QA run through it, and we have to have all these different stop gaps to make sure that the stuff is functional, because if we put something in that's broken, then everybody's going to be sad. So it's not always, oh, we can just throw it in because we have it fixed on the dev side. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can instantly put it in the game.
And it gets even trickier once you're in the state where we're working on something now that we're trying to get pushed into a patch that's coming out tomorrow. If we're trying to do something like that, it needs to go into that branch, and then they need to test it on that branch in that patch.
Right.
And so even though it was working on dev, it might not be working in that specific area, which could push things back. And we've had that happen a couple times in the past.
Right. So this one is from Impressionato.
Ooh.
Yeah. Any new info on item stats customization, aka a lot of gear is biased to spellslingers and espers suffer a bit from it, or items that are clearly support items but have assault power on them.
So this is kind of one of those things that it rests sort of on itemization and it rests sort of on combat. So it's in this in-between state where we have to work with them. I can't really give a definite answer to something like this because it's not completely in the area that I control or that I work on or that I have all to say on. But we are aware of the issues with itemization, with items dropping that have the wrong stats on them. We're also looking into addressing things with stats where everybody's going for assault power. That's something that people are looking for. So basically right now, if items drop and they don't have a lot of assault power, you're probably not going to want those as much. That's why right now crafted gear is really powerful because you're able to create crafted
Tune it
gear.
your own
that,
way.
yeah, you tune it exactly how you want. So this is definitely a top priority issue that we're working on addressing across the board.
I got a question from M. Reeves on Twitter. Will we see warriors getting some form of self-healing, health, not shields, in the future?
So warrior shield healing was supposed to be, it's their niche inside of the tank classes in terms of what sort of healing they have available to them through their base abilities. So the warriors get the shield healing, the stalkers get a lot of lifesteal, self-healing sort of thing, and then engineers have absorb effects. We've gone a little bit beyond that with the amp system because now there are some amps that do those different things for each of the classes. And it's possible that they'll get healing in the future, but for really they're mostly based around shield healing.
Definitely. So this is from Bazilil.
Bazil.
Bazilil.
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 Yeah.
Are there any plans to add a spectator mode in arenas? Will there ever be custom arenas we can make to support tournaments that we want to do 2v2, 3v3, and 5v5?
So this is another one of the things that sits a bit outside of my department. I know that it is something that we want to get in. It's just a matter of time and manpower.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we're working on right now is to make sure that we are optimizing, that we are bug fixing, and that we are making sure that the content that we have in the game is as optimal as possible. So introducing a new system like that takes time. It takes QA time, and it takes dev time, and we have to write out all this stuff, and we want to make sure that it's good when we put it out there. So definitely something that we are looking into internally. Can't give any dates as to when that's going to be, but it's personally I want to see that in the game for sure, because it really does help out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. This is from at Pyro Insane. Are you looking at electrocute not ticking on people in PvP? Been a problem ever since size nerf.
So this isn't really an issue specific to electrocute. Not that it couldn't necessarily be because there could always be something wrong in the data where maybe the telegraph on the server side isn't necessarily the right size that we show it. But for electrocute, I'm fairly certain that is not the case. It's more of just a hit registration issue in the game in general, which has to come from latency. And this is something that our engineers have worked on very diligently. It's something that we as designers are constantly looking at. We're auditing our spells to try to make sure that we have things set up properly, to make sure that we're not making that hit registration more of an issue. I think that if you play arenas, you'll notice that the hit registration is actually really good. From the matches that I've played a ton of matches. The hit registration in arenas is pretty much superior to anywhere else in the game. And that's because we're doing some things a little bit differently in the arenas than we are in other places. And the reason why we're able to do that is because there are less players in this area. Right. It's something that I've been talking to the engineers about, and they want to roll this out into more aspects of the game. It's just that we need to make sure that it's not going to cause worse issues by making those changes.
Yeah, for sure. So this is from Mr. Shackleberry.
Ooh, what a good Mr. Shackleberry.
Ah, Mr. Shackleberry.
Welcome everybody to Mr. Shackleberry. Come and taste the jelly, made fresh. Okay.
That was weird.
He's a jelly seller.
Yeah, Shackleberry. How do you justify the incoming change to Impale up to 2 targets, and how will you balance it in the future?
So one of the things that the engineer, that the stalkers suffered from. I know what class.
I mean, maybe you should know.
Maybe, I don't
what
know.
Impale is.
So it's okay. You're dealing with a lot on your mind right now.
Yeah, I feel like these
a lot of
questions are
questions,
coming all
and they're all over the place too. So.
But the reason why we have increased that target count is because it's mainly inspired by PvP. The reason that we're comfortable for doing this also in PvE is that Neutralize should continue to be the superior ability in AoE fights based on the fact that it hits 5 targets compared to just the 2 targets. And most encounters that you'll find with groups are 3, or NPCs you'll find 3 targets unless you're AoE pulling, and then you'll end up getting larger groups. And then in certain encounters you'll get higher than 3. So we're okay with this change going into PvE. And then in PvP, the Stalkers, they were definitely lacking, and we've been trying to increase them over time. We've enhancing certain abilities. We've done things like reduce the armor penalty that they have when they're in their DPS stance. We've done things like increase their move speed when they're in stealth. Basically, we're trying to bring the Stalker up to more competitive levels with some of the other classes, and this is all based off of data that we have from arenas and battlegrounds, and seeing what ratings players have been able to obtain and what their win ratios are like, that sort of thing. And so this is one of the many changes that we have been making to this Stalker over time to make them a little bit more competitive.
So I have a question on Twitter that is kind of applicable to both of you, for your production experience. This is from @goodguy736. Why do you guys wait so long to patch things you fixed weeks in advance, i.e. raid bugs and soldier heal?
So yeah, we actually kind of answered this a little bit earlier, but it's just because we fix it on dev right now, we have a lot of other builds that we've already kind of put in the pipeline that we have to test and make sure that we're working. Because we're doing so many of these patches, we have to make sure that each one of them has been tested appropriately and gone through the pipeline of doing that. So why do we have so many builds? Well, there's a lot of stuff that we're putting out. So Sabotage, for example, is something that we were testing a month and earlier to make sure that it was good to go, that we get dev fixes, and that we promote those changes to that build. So when you're doing that, you have to kind of think, well, we need to make sure it's solid when we put it out, because otherwise we'll introduce more bugs, and that's bad. So just because we fix a bug on something for the dev side of things doesn't mean we can just throw it in, it'll work. The other main problem is when you introduce new code into existing code, it's kind of like Jenga almost. Like you're like,
love Jenga.
But it's reverse Jenga. So it's like there's a hole in your piece, and you're like, I'll just put this right in there. And sometimes when you do that, it knocks over everything, and sometimes you can put it in and you're good to go. So that can be kind of difficult. And so just because we have a fix, it might fix that one thing, but that code may react differently with other code. It's a long and lengthy process, and trust me, it's not because we don't want to get things out there quickly and that we're sitting on fixes. It's that we just want to make sure that it works with everything else in the environment.
To throw another analogy in there on top of the Jenga analogy,
Careful, because that was a 10 out of 10.
It was pretty good. So we have this build process where we're doing weekly patches, and we're also doing these monthly patches. It's kind of like trains leaving a station. And if you miss the train, there's no way that you can get your change in. So if you do not have your fixes committed by a certain point, and if you do not go through the process of getting it approved that it gets promoted to that, those changes don't get on the train, and they're not going to leave. So that that train could have started leaving yesterday, but you missed it today, and it's going to hit tomorrow. So there was no way that you could have made it.
Both
was pretty
10
good.
out of 10.
That's a good.
I gotta be real.
There's
10
the
out of 10.
explanation. I think that's a pretty good wrap up of that stuff.
And literally almost missed my train leaving out of San Diego Comic Con.
I'm glad you didn't.
Sprint down. It was very
You had the
traumatic.
training though, so you're good to go.
I did. You know what? I beat people on that train. I was sprinting like you've never seen a big.
Did you
man.
push him out of the way when you were
I did.
running?
I pushed a person out of the way. It was serious. Like I literally almost missed. Noxy Greenrose from Twitter at Wildstar hashtag Nexus Report is the hashtag we're using on Twitter. So make sure to use that if you want me to see your questions. What makes one class actually more stronger than another class while they're supposed to be balanced?
So if one dies more than another one, usually that's how that goes.
See what you
It's
we talked about this.
there's
Well,
so many
just-
things.
Yeah. So like, is there? I mean, that's. A
I mean,
question.
there's a lot of stuff really.
There's a
when it
way
comes down to it.
to look at it. Like people are saying that certain classes are more powerful here or more powerful there. They're really strong in 2v2 arenas. They're really strong in battlegrounds. They're really strong in raids. It's just all over the place. So we could have a perfectly balanced game if everything was the same across the board. So if I see your face, Mark, over there, it's beautiful and yawn. Yeah. Anyway,
The EU team are smiling.
The EU team's looking at me because of something else, and I knew I shouldn't have said it when I said it, but it's too late now. Anyway, that's beside the point.
Right.
The point is that I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, that was an amazing diatribe that
Yeah,
you went
that
on
was great.
that led to nothing. Look,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Balancing, the question was effectively, why is balancing, or what makes an imbalanced class, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Why is one when you're supposed to have a balanced game? Why is one player not, or why is one player stronger than another player?
Right.
Class.
As he was saying, really, it thoroughly depends upon what game type you're in, because like you're saying, in some areas maybe and it's even at level ranges too, right? So between 1 and 20, this class may not be able to deliver on a certain thing, or between 35 and 50, it sings and it does amazing stuff. So I mean, it really just depends on what you're aiming towards, and whether that's PvP balance, right? If my class can kill more people than your class does, is that balanced? Or in dungeons, as a DPSer, if I put out more damage per second, then that's the optimal class, so people are going to want to pick that more. So that can be an imbalance there.
And then there's, besides just the class abilities, there's so many other things that can affect it. Gear is a huge thing. If you are a player that has gear that is not that good, and you happen to run into another player that has the best gear, you get killed by that class. You go to the forums and you complain and you say that this class is overpowered.
Right.
It might not actually have anything to do with that class. It could have a lot to do with
Right.
the gear discrepancy. And then on top of that, something that's a little bit more complex is how things like item specials play a role into the balance of the game.
Item specials, amps,
Yeah.
even the abilities themselves. You were talking about ability tiers. Those ability tiers unlock different sort of procs or different things on the ability itself. So
Yeah, there's just a ton that goes into it. So it's a tough challenge, but it's pretty fun working on it and working towards a solution.
yeah.
It sounds just crazy.
This is from Y Zerg.
Why is that?
Why Zerg? Will PvP gear ever have equal rune slots to PvE? PvE gadget 4 slots, PvP 0.
This is more of an itemization question, but again, I do know that we are looking at equaling those things out a bit. Actually, I can't say that. I can't say that for sure. I'm not sure what the plans are for the runes on PvP gear are.
Hugh Shelton, everybody.
As Joe P and Jeff.
Yeah,
can
that
tell.
would be a good Joe P and Jeff Talent question.
This is from Nice Platypus. I have a note that says that Tyler edited the name, so I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Nice Platypus, which is what your name should be, says, why when doing class balancing do people aim for nerf? Why not buff the other classes to even the playing field?
So it's going to depend on what the issue is. If one class is far above all the other classes, would it really make sense to have to go in and adjust 5 classes when you could adjust 1 class to get the equal reward? The more changes that you introduce, the more problems that you can run into. And
Or maybe those classes that you would have to buff up would then be modified in some sort of way that would make them imbalanced as a result of that. And yeah, there's a ton of stuff.
the way that we've been handling it is that we're trying to look at the things that are sticking out one side or the other. So things that are sticking out that are too strong are a top priority, things that are sticking out that are too low come right after that. And we just try to knock everything together so that it fits within a certain range, I guess you could say.
So this one is from Shadowblades.
Oh, snaps.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read it in Shadowblade's voice.
Give me that star wipe, though.
Yeah, I need that star wipe. Hold on. We didn't prep Tyler for the star wipe,
You
so
know,
it takes a lot of.
Tyler always should be
It's
ready
like
for the
to
star
go Super
wipe.
Saiyan. You need a lot of time to kind of.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you for
messed
that.
it up.
Oh
You
man, I'm
messed it
sorry. Look.
Can you give us a big picture roadmap for the future of WildStar's PvP, Hugh Shelton? I demand an answer.
That's a great question, and that would actually be probably better for Kevin Lee. Or
How dare you! I am Shadowblades of Accounting. I account that you will deliver some sort of
really
answer.
uncomfortable right now.
Dude, now you know how I feel every week.
I'm glad you're right there.
Every week. I'm the buffer. This is from Lavden. But seriously, that is kind of a question.
Well, it is a question for them, but I mean, it's item stuff. It's PvP offense and defense getting some changes and updates, and we talked about this in
Yeah,
previous
I
live
could
streams
go
as well.
through the PvP offense and defense changes that are coming in with this next patch.
Let's talk about
Let's do that.
So we had an issue with the way that the PvP stats were set up previously, and actually there were a couple issues with them. One issue was that you could hit the soft cap for PvP offense and PvP defense very easily. You could hit that with just 3 pieces of gear. So basically, you equip 3 or 4 pieces of PvP gear, and now you've gotten to a point where you're seeing very large diminishing returns by adding any more PvP offense or PvP defense. So that means that players have basically been able to put on those 4 pieces of gear and then use PvE gear for all the rest of their stats. And they don't even have to worry about the rest of that PvP gear. Besides that, the PvP stats, right now they only affect damage output, and they kind of affect how damage comes in. And you can get to a certain point with PvP offense where if you have more PvP offense than the opponent has PvP defense, it doesn't really give you that much of a benefit. So it's not like you're doing bonus damage because you have way more PvP offense than they have PvP defense. So we're addressing both of those problems. One, we're making it so that the soft caps are much harder to reach than they are currently. I don't know where they ended up exactly, but we were talking about making sure that you had to have a full suit of gear that is PvP, and also rune that gear for PvP offense and defense in order to hit those PvP stat caps. Besides that, we're also making the PvP stat give you more damage against targets that do not have PvP defense. So the more and more PvP offense that you get, the more useful it will be to you, because you're going to continue to do more damage to players that don't have PvP defense. Other than that, we're also making PvP offense actually called PvP power, and it will now also affect healing. So healers, when you go into PvP battlegrounds or arenas, whatever, your healing will be reduced unless you have PvP power.
Right.
And the higher your PvP power is, the less your healing is reduced. At a certain point, you start getting bonus healing. That not only makes it important for healers to go after this stat, but it also it kind of tones back healing, which was pretty strong in PvP.
Right. All right.
Got a question off of Twitter from Pigs in a Blanket. Why wouldn't you just put obvious PvP focused specials onto PvP gear instead of crafted stuff?
So this is a larger question. The class team was not responsible for putting those things on the gear. We created a lot of the item specials that were then used by Econ to place on gear, and then Econ selected item specials to go on different pieces of the gear. So this is something where we just need to improve our communication with the Econ team about what item specials should be going in which places. And it's one of those systems that kind of fit in between 2 different teams. So whenever you have a system that fits kind of in between 2 teams, you can have fall-offs because of it. You can miss the mark a little bit in terms of your execution of it. And this is something that we want to work towards in the future, improving.
There we go. So this is from Lavden. Are you guys looking at changing tiers for Spellslinger, since they are very lackluster for healer?
We are absolutely looking at adjusting tiers for Spellslinger and for all classes. We're looking at the ones that are a little bit less interesting. Things like increases telegraph width, things like now heals 2 extra targets, things like that. We really like the ability tiers, like on BioShell for the engineer, where if you're in a certain range of volatility, the ability is instant cast. We really like something like that. Or on the Spellslinger Ignite, we really like the tier 8 where you can now have both the base version of the spell and also the tiered version, the surge version of the spell on target at the same time. So we're definitely looking at tiers across all classes.
Cool. Awesome. This is from Midnight Age. Sounds like a romance novel. It was the best of times. Was Midnight Age. Thoughts about the moderately near far future? I'm guessing about these subjects. More amp abilities, alternative class/power advancement. Where does character power go from here outside of just gear?
So I can't say too much about the far future. I've mentioned a couple times that we are looking at revising abilities and amps that are lackluster, and I think we have a lot of room to grow in that regard. Besides that, we also, down the road, we can always introduce more ability tier points. We can always introduce more amp points that players will be able to unlock. And once that happens, things change pretty dramatically, because now, instead of only being able to get 3 abilities to tier 8, which you can't do right now unless you've gotten all your extra ability points, but let's say you could get 5 abilities to tier 8. That could change things pretty dramatically for players. So that's one way of where character advancement will go. But besides that, we have talked about adding new abilities. We have talked about adding new amps. And we've talked about doing some changes to the ability tier system. But all of this stuff is a bit farther out.
Sure. So this is from Faux Fox Gaming. Will you be overhauling medic amps and ability tiers? What about medic single target damage?
So this is, again, this hits kind of on the same topic of the overhauling the amps and ability tiers. Yes, we will be looking at some of them. We won't be changing every single one, but we will be looking at some of them. And then as far as medic single target damage, we just made an update to Gamma Rays, which on the PTR right now it hits 3 targets, and the DPS increase was questionable based on a lot of the testing that our players had given us, thankfully. We have another change going in that will be toning it down to 2 targets rather than 3 targets, which will help because we increase the damage for it, and we're also adjusting the tier 8 on that to have no internal cooldown like it currently has on the PTR, which overall will mean a DPS increase for medics in single target encounters.
So here's a question from Val Wildstar, maybe? Val WS. Will Esper heals be seeing a rebalance? I would love to use more than 3 to 4 heals for raiding, but I fear that if they are nerfed, we would lose our uniqueness.
Everything's going to be seeing some sort of rebalancing over the long haul. So we'll be looking at everything. We do not like the idea that players feel that they are locked into a large group of abilities in order to do the role that they have to do. I mean, we only have 10 support abilities, 10 utility abilities, so there's going to be some overlap from one build to another. That's inevitable, but we definitely do want to continue to improve the viability of other abilities, improve the viability of other ability tiers. It's just an ongoing process.
Yeah. So this is from Magic Meow. How big is the class balancing team currently?
So we have the class. We don't necessarily have a team that is specifically for class balancing. We have the class team, so I'm the class lead. Then we have the medic and warrior lead, Merkal. We have the stalker and esper lead, Azrael, and we have the engineer lead, which is Meerkat, and we have recently we gained a new spellslinger lead, which is Tranogram. So each of these guys are responsible for their specific class or classes. Besides that, this team is also one of the more experienced teams with the spell system. So, for example, the first month that we released, there were a number of issues found with spells throughout the game that required an audit on those spells. And that is actually something that the class team was tapped for, and a lot of our time was spent just auditing those spells. Sure. And that was deemed fairly important at the time. Besides that, we also work on things like updating item specials. We work on things for helping spell setups for other teams.
And as well as future endeavors.
As well as future endeavors.
What does that mean?
No.
Don't say, though.
Speaking of future endeavors, this is a question from Stephen Van de Sande. Any plans to add additional classes into the game? Hints, winky face?
No.
I believe with both my, okay.
No
All
hints.
right. All right.
Sorry.
There's no hints or just no?
No hints.
Okay, no hints. Sorry, Steven, I tried.
It's a good try. You gotta be sneaky about it if
No,
you're
I
trying to
even
get it out of
winked,
us.
I know,
You know what I mean?
should-
Like if you
I
want to
should've
be
just
like,
acted like a normal question.
right.
Hey, Steven asks, are there, just shrug it, are there any plans to add additional classes into the game? And then
Or you
just
do a
let it
leading.
travel off?
Like,
Yeah, like-
you were saying something about other classes, right?
I probably would have answered that.
Just lied to you. You said this earlier, but just to reiterate, any plans to add additional, okay. This question is from Rion. I think I pronounced that correctly. Esper DPS was made more mobile a bit ago. Will Healy Esper get the same treatment?
So healing espers are actually pretty mobile right now, especially with the more common heal LES setups. But yes, we are looking at every single ability on the Esper, which there aren't very many abilities left that are immobile. And we are looking at either making them mobile or leaving them the way they are, but then having everything else around them work a little bit more for mobility. So overall, we have increased the Esper mobility, which will hit in patch 2. And this is kind of just our first step towards making the Esper more mobile. And it was some things that were actually fairly safe to implement when we did. And we're going to be doing things like amps and ability tiers that give you bonuses for being stationary, but they don't require you to be stationary.
Sure. So this is from Fall92. What is your opinion on the current balance in game? For example, do your metrics show that medics really are last in the single target DPS category?
So this would be a pretty big,
It's a loaded question.
yeah, it's a pretty loaded question. I feel like it's trying to get me to say something that they want me to say, but
Maybe like the balance in this game is perfect.
yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, no, oh, God. Here we go again.
The bounce, it's always going to need a little bit of work.
Sure.
I mean, there's always things that we can improve. There's always things that we can, there's always things that we can bring more in line with one another, and it's something that we'll continue to work towards. And then what was the next thing I was going to say? What was
Something
the
about the
next
medic
thing?
DPS being
About the medic
single target.
DPS single target. I mentioned before that we have a buff incoming for medic single target DPS. You know what? I'm actually gonna give a hint towards the future.
Oh.
What? No
A
hinties.
hint towards the future. Give him a star wipe. Star wipe it.
What?
This is nice.
Hint towards the future.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
want a
star
star
wipe.
wipe.
I don't know. Oh, that is pretty sweet. All right, so hint towards the future. There are certain classes in raids that are topping the meters. These classes usually have stances, and there's probably a bigger balance issue on the backside that's causing those classes to top the damage meters. So we are addressing assault power across all classes to make things a little bit more equal, and we are also looking at the stances of those classes that will make it so that they do not scale quite as well as they currently do. This isn't something that's going to be hitting in patch 2, but it is something that's a pretty major rework, and it will be hitting in the future. I can't say exactly when.
In the future.
In the future.
It's a pretty big change. It's in on dev, and it's going through a lot of testing right now.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's a great hint, and you definitely earned your star wipe, sir.
Thank you.
Star wipe, star bright.
This is awkward again.
Yeah. Final Fantasizer. Stalker tanks are getting nerfed next patch because of PvP, but does this not change anything in PvP? And only nerfs threat gen in PvE. Any plans to change this around? Maybe increase threat gen from Nano?
So we'll be keeping an eye on soccer tanks in PvE once this launches. We don't really feel like these changes are going to be the tipping point that makes it so that they're not able to tank in PvE. If you think that this isn't going to affect PvP, well, I guess you can see when it happens if it does or not. There's definitely issues with stalker tanks in PvP where they can be close to unkillable depending on the size of the group that's coming up to them. And that is changing very soon. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it for PvE though.
All right. Cool. So this is from Fauci69. When can we expect bug class fixes such as bot AI for engineers or address AMP and abilities?
So we'll continue to patch in fixes to bugs as soon as we fix them, as soon as they go through the pipeline.
Yeah, generally speaking, always. You can always expect class and bug fixes every single time we have one of these big patches. You're going to see a lot of bug fixes and a lot of that stuff.
We have a fairly substantial AI change for engineer bots that has been completed by the engineer in charge of AI. This is something that's not very simple though, so it is going to be it's going to be in testing for a bit before it gets launched to the public. But we are most definitely working on AI for engineered bots.
Sweet. This is from Golden Yetich. How do you counterbalance players being attracted to flavor of the month classes with not wanting to disappoint the greater body of players with nerfs? Tough question.
So we're not really too concerned with affecting that population of players that are playing Flavor of the Month. We're looking at addressing balance issues here and there. And sometimes addressing those balance issues will make a bunch of people mad, and sometimes they'll be mad for a good reason, and we'll respond to that and we'll try to resolve that issue. But we're not really thinking of it in those terms. We're just trying to fix the balance issues.
Yeah, for sure. So this one is from Blubba1. It's a good one. Blubba1. Queues for RBGs are higher ratings, or at higher ratings are longer. Excuse me.
It's hard to read
It
these
is
things.
difficult, man.
They're like Tony. I confused Tony. No, it's just the way you worded it's a little confusing.
That's a lot of jumbly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when are you going to enable cross-faction to stimulate a competitive environment?
This is something that would sit more on the PvP team than it would be
Sure.
on my team.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Kevin Lee, it's the Muffin Man.
You know, we had him on all last week.
Yeah, he was on last week.
This is from Vile Knight.
Hey, Vile Knight, what up?
Is there a possibility of getting an amp reset for free when the PvP drop goes live?
So there will not be an amp reset when the PvP drop goes live, that's for sure. But we are looking at adjusting the way that the amp reset system works, possibly making it so that it doesn't always cost the same, maybe having escalating costs, something that resets every so often, and this would be coming out in a later patch.
So this is from Dried Branch. When are you guys going to add the race change service? So I can take that one. It probably won't be for a while, but yeah, I mean, maybe in the future, but don't hold your breath is the best way to think about it. Sorry.
Don't hold your breath.
Dude, I'm just saying.
That's your advice
I
for
mean,
them?
he's saving them.
Yeah, you
from
know,
dying.
Somebody might die from holding their breath.
Don't
I
hold
just
your
saved
breath.
their life.
Because, I mean, they can't even hold their breath for patch 2, and that's happening this week. So that's.
I'm saving lives, Tony. You're welcome.
I apologize, community. This is from Azurion.
Sure.
I think so.
Azurion.
Azurion, will you be adding abilities as time goes on in order to vary up the gameplay? Like, for example, purchasing more skills or releasing new zones with new skills that can be bought from vendors or gotten from beaten bosses. A lot of suggestions.
Maybe. That seems like a good idea.
Seems like a good idea.
No, yeah, we have definitely talked about adding new abilities to classes, and it is something that is not in the near future, but it would be something for the post-future.
Sounds like a hint. Thought we agreed.
We're gonna
no
do it way
hints.
cooler though than just what this guy talked about.
All right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right.
So we've got about 10 minutes left. We're gonna answer a couple more questions, then we're gonna get right into some fan art.
Fan art.
We've got a whole lot of fan art. So let's ask 2 more questions. Abaddon TV, any ETA on adjusting underperforming abilities and amps?
So this is something that is ongoing. We've gotten some of these changes gone in for patch 2. We've hotfixed some things in during the first patch. We'll hotfix in a few more things during this next patch, and there will be additional stuff deployed in the next milestone. It's an ongoing process. This is something that we will continually adjust from milestone to milestone.
So this is from Wormy 2022. What precautions do you take to make sure every class is equal? Hardcore.
We get a lot of feedback. We watch metrics, we play the game, we see what players are talking about on the forums, we watch videos of players, we watch Twitch streams, we basically look at it any way that we possibly can look at it, and then discuss it and make adjustments if we deem that they're necessary.
There you go. I also saw another question here in Twitch chat. When will you be able to change your path? That probably isn't coming for a while. Again, the breath holding thing wouldn't do it.
You know what? I said we're going to answer 2 more questions. And then you answered 3.
Just wanted to point that out there.
Well,
There's just one more.
Well, who knows? It wasn't even on here. It's anarchy. What is that face? Is that your troll face?
Oh, sorry. No, my troll face would be...
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
my
better.
troll.
Okay.
That's
Hey, thank you so much for being in the hot seat for this whole time, man.
Thank you.
Hugh Shelton, you're a champion.
Seriously.
No.
And you have a great beard.
Oh,
You
thank
do have a great... I aspire... My beard aspires to be your beard.
You just gotta let it grow.
Yeah. No, well, I try, but, you know, it's thin hair, so...
No, it looks like you
Been
trim
here,
it
don't
up.
care.
No, I don't trim it. I try and trim... Let's not talk about this right now. We've got some fan art. Do you want to stay for fan art?
Sure.
All right, awesome. We got awesome fan art this week. It's pretty good. I say it's always good, but this week...
Legit.
Damn. Our first piece is from Moxie. Foxy Moxie.
Ooh la la.
Easy now.
Easy, guys. Come on.
Easy.
It's a family show.
That's true.
God damn. Family show, guys. Come on.
About to make a family. This is
No.
from Nexus Sugar Me.
No.
Oh, no, come on. Yeah, you just shot me with a Nerf gun. Nexus from Sugar Me. Oh, they're adorable.
Look at those orange.
No. Shoot.
We love trees.
This next piece is from Aristora. Super cool.
Rad.
Yeah.
Very rad. Look at that action. Got that movement. The dust.
That movement, though.
I like it.
This piece is from Pockets. Pockets with a Z.
Awesome stalker.
Yeah. I was all stoked when this piece came in.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Pockets does some good WildStar work.
Definitely. Thank you, Pockets, for all of your work. This last piece is from The Lorem. So I posted on Twitter that I had a dream that I was riding a velociraptor and shooting machine gun through an explosion. And they said, this is what, the way I tell stories is, well, you probably think that, but in reality, Frost's version is me on a little thing, and I thought you would enjoy that.
Did you just say
that's- yeah.
Frost version is reality?
Yep,
No,
that's true.
no, I didn't say that. I didn't mean to say that. You stop it. No, you know what? You're not invited back anymore. How
Dude,
dare
did
you?
you really, like, here's the thing, man. Did you really have a dream that you were on the back of a velociraptor, you're riding through an explosion shooting machine guns? 'Cause I feel like you made that up, just so that somebody would Photoshop that.
I
throwing it out
really had a dream. I really had a dream. And if I would have dreamt it, I would have said I was on a dragon and not a velociraptor. Because I like dragons more than velociraptors.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Dragons are
Velociraptor is a little bit more believable.
Yeah, you know, you're going for the easy win.
cool. No?
Here's the thing, if I would have done it, I would have said robot dragon.
Okay. See?
Super metal.
Now that would have that's totally made up. I really had a dream. How dare you pull my dreams into question on this live stream?
Just curious, man. It just seems like, you know.
And it seems like you should shut your mouth. Next up, we have a special piece from J.R. Trivkin, the maker of Grizzle Peas. He has made a Shadow Blades portrait. He's taken salty
that's awesome.
ochres
Yep.
and put his own twist on it. This needs to be put in a frame immediately.
I know. That
right?
is pretty awesome.
It needs to be put in a classic
beautiful.
old-timey looking frame and put on a desk
I
somewhere.
feel like he posed for this, you know?
He really
and
did.
They put lighting into it, and he sat there as somebody painted it.
All right, Shadow Blades, you can't move, buddy. You're gonna have to stay straight.
I cannot stay stationary.
No, I
If
know.
I don't stop,
Right.
I can't breathe.
I'm just trying to.
It's dragon physiology.
I'm trying to paint.
You should know this.
I know. I'm just trying to paint you.
I can't stop moving.
Oh, okay. Well, your painting is gonna be blurry.
You know that.
You know you.
We had this discussion prior to you painting me.
And it's time for my favorite part of the show. It is time for the altogether epic moment of the week. Okay, that was good. We're getting real good, people.
Yeah.
This is from Ascension Gaming. This is just titled close call.
Yeah, so this is X89. You know, Zyback had a video that was very similar to this.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy. But you know, the whole point of this match is to survive and kill this guy.
Look at
and
this.
There are 3 platforms left, and there were 20 people at the beginning of this match, and you'll notice that there's
platforms.
probably, yeah, a lot more platforms. There's probably about 4 people right now, 5 people, and he's doing some real damaging spells here. And you'll notice one of the platforms just disappeared there.
Along with
And
another.
yeah, another player.
Right, oh.
Using the movement ability to get back on, which is the correct strategy.
Clutch.
There. Ooh, now we've got 2 people left on this. This is a close call. Look at the health on the boss right now for X89.
Yeah.
This is just scary because this boss, he does his spew here, and then he does another thing where he tries to launch you off. You got to use your movement ability to get back in. He does that attack as well where he's jumping across. We now have 1 platform left. There's one
platform. Yeah,
Yes.
look at that. That was sick. Totally worth the epic moment of the week. That was awesome. Ascension Gaming, congratulations.
And that was it. And if you listen to the audio, they're like, "Oh my God, look at that!" You know, it was them.
The audio for most of that is definitely NSFW,
Yeah.
mature audiences only. Ascension was getting into it and really laying into some curse words. You know when you lay in a curse word? It's a lot of fun. Well, I'm tapping my papers together, which means it's the end of the show, which means it's time for another impression off that you can win. But we have Mark here from the UK who actually does a really good Christopher Walken.
Right.
And I'd love to get you on real quick. I know you said, oh, well, maybe next time. But, you know, I'm going to put you on the spot. Could I borrow your microphone
Let's
real
do
quick?
it. Oh man,
Yeah, this is going to be super real quick.
this is gonna be awkward. So,
You can just
hey
pull it up
buddy.
from the top.
Hey, so we've actually, Mark and I have
Just
had a
over,
walking
yeah.
off before. This was
Yeah.
on the Vine. I don't know if yeah, you got your mic here.
Oh,
so
yeah, we got
did
tons
it on
of-
Vine, and then we
Oh.
kind of voted it out, and this is really awkward. So
Oh, Hugh Shelton,
Hugh Shelton,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
There it is.
Yes.
it's good.
Yes.
Good.
Hey.
All right.
I think I have a mic.
Yes.
I think this is
No,
working.
you're good.
Hello.
Perfect.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, internet.
Hello. Oh man, we just got so much smarter.
It just got pleasant.
Yeah.
I brought the Brit.
You
Yeah, you did.
brought the Brit.
Yeah.
Hashtag he brought the Brit.
Brought the
Yeah.
Brit. So, are we? Is this happening?
Well, we're just jumping right into it. You know, it's the end of the show. We got to wrap this thing up. We've got
Okay.
like 30 seconds.
All right.
All right, you save it for
No,
last.
no,
'cause
yeah.
No, you're good.
Oh, yeah, like,
You're
I
last.
don't
So
think
I'm
it
going
is.
first.
Oh,
All right.
yeah, you go first.
All right.
So, you know, I
Oh,
need
yeah,
a
we need
star
we need
wipe
to star wipe it.
to go into it.
You need
Tyler,
to star wipe it.
hook me up,
We're
bro.
just gonna just outro the show. Say your piece.
I'm going to, you know, say a few things for you, Tony, and the audience, for everybody watching. You're great. I love you. But you need to calm down because you can't have a short walk-in. It takes, you know, 30 seconds.
Oh, I
To
know,
finish.
I know. You have only a short amount of time, but listen, hey, whoa, sometimes you're gonna have to wrap it up because we only have a certain amount of seconds.
Is that Arnold
in the day.
Schwarzenegger walking?
No, it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger at all. If you wanted to hear Arnold, all you had to say is, "Where's Arnold?" And he's back, baby. All right, I'm right here. All the damn time. God,
Why
damn
are you
it.
guys taking up so much time here on the live stream? You know, I'm just gonna briefly mention, don't forget, we're gonna be at Gamescom. Oh, I'm looking at this camera over here.
Yes,
Boom.
right there.
I don't understand.
Stupid.
We're gonna be at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany. We're going out
Oh
there.
my God.
We're gonna be drinking Kolsch.
You're
We're gonna be
going to
having a
Germany.
good time at Gamescom, so come and join us. Come
Oh,
and join us.
Oh,
Ow.
Frost. Oh, where's your Arnold, Frost? Come on.
I don't want to hear it, okay? I've had
Listen,
enough.
listen to
I've had
this,
enough
Arnold.
of your crap,
It's
okay?
the worst Arnold I've ever
Your
had.
face is the worst, Arnold. No.
We'll see you guys next Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here for Wild Star Weekly with our EU team. They're here. Yay! Thanks again to Hugh Shelton. This has been a great show. We did a ton of questions today.
Yeah,
see you
we
on
did.
Thursday. Oh, yeah, that was close.
Boom.
That was close. That was
Yeah.
close.
That's my.
I don't believe it. Planet Nexus now lies before us.
We're approaching the Elven facility. Cambot 1, Cambot 2. You getting this?
Our work on this planet is something greater. It is something truly divine.
We shall reveal the ancient secrets of Nexus.
Ever get a feeling something's seriously wrong?
This is not good. Not good at all.